Alright, so I got my Pyro here. My Pyro was a more interesting case than the last two. I ended up changing the build I was doing by the end game. So initially, I did my debuff tank build that you've seen in the last videos. It was good, but it was of course still good enough to, clear everything and be OP, but in the end I just felt like it was underperforming more than enough that it didn't really have a future in the game anymore, because I'm like, so they nerfed so much. So they nerfed every single debuff, and they also made it so none of them stack. Thermal bomb, the branded debuff, it no longer stacks, and it was nerfed, and that was the best one. Now the individual debuffs will still stack, but none of them stack with each other. I mean, they even nerfed Burnt Out, even though he wasn't really abusing it like other Pyros, but it still affected him too. So after I tweaked him some, I spent a lot of time using him. I just realized this is just not worth it. I was thinking he'd be again a boss enter build, helping the teammates a lot with the debuffs. But I began thinking, with all these nerfs now, I feel like my gun build, my oldest Pyro build, this one, my gun build Ash Blast one would be the best one, because I feel like despite the nerfs, he would still be able to maintain death sentence and vulnerability, which my debuff build can really inflict for the most part. And with that, he'd still be doing almost the same amount of debuffs as my other Pyro build, but more reliably. But then he'd also be sticking Ash on everything still. It'd be even more OP based on what I'm seeing now. So yeah. So I went to him, and sure enough, and you know what's crazy is this guy got nerfed too. This is the guy who uses all the damage multipliers. What I'm learning is it still works for him, whereas I feel like the game clearly wants you to give up all those to go like gun damage in the Pyro tree, clearly. But again, he has max health on all his stuff. He's a tank. I'm not going for gun damage still. So I initially changed him to use thermal bomb, ironically, because I thought, hey, I can get rid of all these damage multipliers. I'll get rid of Captain Hunter. I'll get rid of bullet kindling. I'll stick on like branded. I'll stick on for another debuff, and then I'll stick on all the double fun, fire frenzy, and then I found another Pyro tier 3 mod that's pretty good, where it just does a set amount of damage now when it hits the dude, like 200k, like at this level, which is pretty good. So I'm like, I tried that, and I soon realized I'm actually still doing less damage, and I was less tanky, because in order to do that I had to give up resistance in my tree, and he already didn't have much resistance to begin with compared to my other builds. So I changed him back to what you see now, and it's basically the exact same build, except all I changed was Ashes to Leeches got nerfed too. So I took that off and put the 50% cooldown on Feed the Flames now. And if anything, he's still just as tanky as he was, if not more so, because he did lose his mad crazy weapon leech healing potential. But in exchange, his Feed the Flames now heals him more and has a gigantic cooldown on it now, so it's healing him way more now. So yeah, he's pretty darn good. You see, even though they nerfed the death sentence duration, his build just makes it so he still keeps it on the whole time, because you just alternate between Feed the Flames and Ash Blast. With the Pax tree, you can get, less than a 7-second cooldown most of the time on Ash Blast. It's just insane, and it's actually pretty fun. Oh, I'm pretty tired right now, so yeah, that's probably why I'm talking more like this, but that's my Pyro for now. Pretty good.